Alright, welcome to my first What If movie. Even though it's technically only half of the first part of, well, I'm doing the entire first part of Naruto. You can call this, I guess, an experiment to see how it does. Since apparently everyone only cares about the first parts about what is, then just dip out. Of course, anyways, before we start, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and the most importantly, enjoy. Hey, who knows? If this works out, I might just do movies for the entirety of the rest of this channel's run. But we already know. Before we can watch the video, play the intro.
Are we gonna play now? Ready for the show? I'm about to take down, you already know. Get the fuck out of my face now, yeah, you gotta go. Man, I'm on the chase now, leave me on my own. I got a chance to break now, here I fucking go. Take control of fate now, I control my flow. And I know that I'll be great, how putting on a show. I know that I'ma stay loud, drowning out the noise. The haters always thinking that they could fucking break me. They're better off eating their own words like pastries, hate me.
Alright, starting things off, we start things when Naruto is of course a child about before the the start of the series. Naruto one day is being chased and would eventually be chased into what happened to be a forest. Of course, wandering around, he'd eventually find a Patamon egg, which he would, of course, wonder how the egg got here, but after a while would eventually take the egg home with him, and would try and make an omelet out of it. However, when he would try and, crack open the egg, it would be virtually indestructible. With Naruto virtually trying everything he can to crack it open, even using a kunai, however, nothing would work. And so Naruto would eventually give up and just leave the egg alone, keeping it in his house somewhere. Probably keeping it safe, trying to keep it warm, care for it the best way you can. Of course, things would happen. Eventually, the egg would one day start to, crack, and then crack some more. Then some more, until more cracks would appear all over the egg, and it would begin to glow as the egg would, fly up in the air and would start to hatch. And then would eventually fully crack open, creating a giant bright light as the egg would hatch. This would, of course, blind Naruto, as when he finally opens his eyes, he would see a Tokomon. Not knowing what the Tokomon is, he would get a little afraid and would, of course, ask the obvious questions of, who are you and, what are you? As Tokomon would basically say his name, that being Tokomon, and would also explain that he's a digital monster, Digimon for short. Naruto, after seeing that Tokomon isn't a threat, would eventually and basically after that, Naruto would realize Tokomon isn't a threat, but Tokomon would say he's hungry, as Naruto would basically go feed it ramen. As over time, the two would actually start to become friends. Anyways, Naruto and Tokomon basically go around still pulling pranks, Tokomon being Naruto's partner in crime. And no one will really question Tokomon, just because this role seems like it wouldn't really question why Digimon is here. Well, probably the more perceptive people would question how Naruto got a Tokomon. One of these would be Hiruzen, which Naruto would basically give the same explanation Tokomon gave to him, and Hiruzen would understand and would let Naruto keep Tokomon and basically let the two keep on living together. The second person would be Iruka. I don't know why I put Naruto so small, but and Naruto would of course give the same explanation, and Iruka would accept it, and so basically Tokomon would be attending classes with Naruto, but he still would fail as in canon. Tokomon has no knowledge to help him. Tokomon would try and help in other aspects, like helping Naruto train. However, he wouldn't really be able to do anything to help most of the time, either hurting himself or being out for the count after, well, one solid blow. Of course, this would lead to Naruto eventually to exhume Tokomon from his training, but Tokomon wouldn't give up and would keep trying. Eventually, Naruto would have to, sit down and have a serious talk with him. Basically, telling Tokomon that he can't train with him since he isn't, strong enough. This would cause Tokomon to, get a little sad because he can't help his friend, and this might even cause a evolution which would digivolve Tokomon into the form this what it was about, which is a Patamon. And would now become a much better help and even be able to actually, put up a good fight in Naruto and help him grow stronger, meaning that Patamon's allowed to join in, and the two would now become the duo we know today. Well, we don't know them, they're not canon, but Anyways, we move straight on into, the graduation exams. And those will basically go about as in canon. Naruto still fails, and Patamon would try and cheer him up. Mizuki would still trick Naruto into stealing the scroll of sealing, and that would all go about as in canon. Patamon would basically act as Naruto's lookout and getaway and would fly him away. And they would fly into a forest, crash landing because Naruto is so heavy. Naruto would still end up opening the scroll in the Shadow Clone Jutsu. Of course, Mizuki arrives to take the scroll of sealing, and that would basically go as in canon. Naruto is still told the truth about Kurama by Mizuki, saying that he is the non-intelligent Jinchuriki, as in canon, which Naruto would give about the same reaction. Mizuki would try and throw a shuriken at Naruto to kill him, however Patamon would deflect it using an air shot, which will come hurling straight back to Mizuki, who would barely dodge and get a cut on his face, with Patamon basically giving a speech of his own. Say he may not know what a Jinchuriki is, but Naruto is not a demon, and would say he is a great partner and friend. Something like that. Mizuki would switch his attention to Patamon and would end up trying to kill him, as Patamon would fire a multitude of air shots. Some Mizuki would end up dodging, some would hit him, and some in his arms, which would injure him and even blow a few holes in his Jonin vest. Mizuki would eventually recover his shuriken and would throw it at Patamon to try and kill him again, which Patamon would deflect. However, Mizuki would come in with a second one and try and stab Patamon to kill him, but Naruto would come in to save Patamon, kicking Mizuki away, and would basically thank Patamon for everything he said about them, as Naruto would use the Shadow Clone Jutsu and would defeat Mizuki about the same way as in canon. Naruto eventually arrives to see the situation, and Naruto would basically explain what happened, and Patamon would be there to verify his story, which after Ruka would still pass Naruto like in canon. Moving on to things, we get straight into, the second episode, and basically, teams. The teams are formed about the same as in canon, and we still get Kakashi being Team 7's leader. Of course, Kakashi still ends up arriving late, and after he does, Naruto will pull the same prank. Kakashi gives the same analysis on them, saying he hates them all. And they still go up to the rooftop. Their goals and aspirations all remain the same, and so that leads to Kakashi still announcing the bell test. But on to the actual bell test. Naruto still tries to attack Kakashi before it begins, fails, and is still the first to attack him when it actually begins. And does the same things as in canon, except for Patamon will use the air shots at Kakashi to, when he sees openings, or just firing them until one hits. And would even one would hit Kakashi's book, which Kakashi would get annoyed and would actually be forced to take Naruto a little more seriously than in canon. But Patamon would keep doing this job pretty well, even allowing Naruto to touch one of the bells. Also, Naruto would make use of shadow clones that would also allow him to touch the bells again, but Kakashi would, just keep stopping him before he can grab him. Eventually, Kakashi would pull out the same tricks as in canon, and Naruto would still end up caught by that rope by the leg and swinging on a tree. Patamon would go to help, but would be caught by a net. Kakashi would still go for Sakura and about put her under the same genjutsu as in canon. Yeah, her attempt would go as well about as in canon. Moving on to things as in canon, Sasuke would still attack Kakashi next and would do the second best out of the three in this timeline, that being Naruto's done and Patamon done the best so far. And his fight with Kakashi would last about as long as in canon. This leads to Team 7 still failing as in canon, and Naruto would still be tied to the podium. Sasuke would still defeat Naruto and later Sakura, and so as in canon, Kakashi would pass the team and would still give the same speech as in canon, with Kakashi and Team 7 still go on the same D-rank missions as in canon. These will all play out the same, except for during the cat one, Patamon would be able to help spotting the cat from above and basically catch it using its paws, but would end up getting scratched by the cat. Moving on. As in canon, Naruto still complains about the missions to Hiruzen, and as in canon, Hiruzen, after some consideration, would give him the same C rank mission, that be the Land of Ways mission with Tazuna. As in canon, the Demon Brothers would come and attack them after a while of leaving the village. As I said before, or if I didn't say it, Demon Brothers, as soon as they arrive outside the village, well, not as soon as, after appointing them getting outside the village, would come attack them all, attack the group. Patamon and Sasuke would go to react to this, and they would take out the Demon Brothers, well, at least one of them, keep them back, as Patamon would use a air shot to, keep us off, at least until Kakashi would arrive and basically take out the two brothers with ease. And from here, a large portion of things will go as in canon, with them still finding out this mission is higher ranked than usual, but they would still continue on anyways. Eventually, they would still encounter Zabuza with the sword being thrown above them, so Patamon would just fly above it and would obviously get a little scared. And as in canon, Zabuza will reveal himself. After the exposition, Zabuza and Kakashi will begin to battle, and that will all go about as in canon, with Kakashi getting trapped in the water prison. I don't know what I said earlier there. This leads to it being left up to Team 7 to, free Kakashi. And by Team 7, I mean Naruto, Sasuke, and Patamon, with the same plan being made as a canon, except for Patamon will give the Demon Wind Shuriken a little boost with his air shot. I initially have it as Boom Bubble in my script. Patamon's attack. This will work in freeing Kakashi, as Patamon will go get Naruto out of the river, and Kakashi will proceed to have his battle with Zabuza round 2, this time using the Sharingan, and would still defeat him. And things happen, and Haku still comes in to save Zabuza. And Kakashi would still collapse after. Here, continue on to more canon things. Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura still do their tree walking training with Patamon just watching on. Not really need to do this since no chakra, plus he can fly. Actually, Patamon does have chakra. This will not come into play later. But again, Patamon wouldn't need to do this since he can fly. You'd just be staying and watching Naruto doing his training and basically catching him whenever he falls. So a few times Patamon will hit the ground. But otherwise than that, it will go as in canon. It'd also be there when Naruto would meet Haku, and that also remains the same. Moving on to the battle on the bridge, with Patamon being there, he would be able to wake up Naruto on time, so he's with there from the beginning. It's still Sasuke and Naruto and Patamon. Still Sasuke and Naruto versus Haku, and Patamon joins in. Sakura and Kakashi, or just Kakashi versus Zabuza. And since again Sasuke was able to fight at least Haku alone and contend with the three together, they would actually be doing a pretty good job against Haku and would force him to use the demon ice mirrors. And from there would get bombarded with a bunch of Senbons. Patamon and Sasuke would try to use a combination jutsu of like a fireball and an air shot, which would destroy a few mirrors. However, these would just come back. Sasuke would still unlock his Sharingan, and the fight would about go in many of the same ways as in canon. But with Patamon being a smaller target, he wouldn't get hit as much. Haku still decides to take out Sasuke. Still decides to end this fast, and still goes for Naruto. Sasuke would jump in the way, however, another person would jump in the way, that being Patamon. Luckily, before Patamon could, probably die, the Digivice would start glowing, and Patamon would Digivolve to Angemon. And with that, what is basically pixie dust, I know it's not called that, probably not called that, but that's what they showed in the 2020, or was it 2021? No, I think the anime was released in 2020. The reboot of the Digimon, the original Digimon, the first one. Basically, that scene where he healed oh dear goodness. Okay, where he healed Mental Greymon and where Garurumon, that will basically just happen here. Ironically, Naruto and Sasuke kind of share their color schemes, and would even give them a power up. They would basically just be engulfed in a yellow like glow, and will be able to move much faster and harder, and they would all just basically... Angemon would use an attack called one of his attacks, they would call it Angel Rod, to basically destroy multiple ice mirrors. They're fast as they're regenerating. Sasuke would use a power of Fireball to destroy more, and this would eventually force Haku out, where Naruto would hit him with a barrage of attacks from his shadow clones. Eventually, this of course hit Haku out of these mirrors, and would allow Naruto and Sasuke to each land their own blows and basically finish Haku off. Finish him off, his mask would come off, and that interaction would go about the same as it can, with his mask being off, with Naruto stopping Naruto stopping Sasuke and Angemon from killing Haku. And as in canon, Haku would sacrifice himself to protect Zabuza, and Zabuza still goes on and kills that one evil guy whose name I can't remember, Gato, and he doesn't matter. And with that, the arc will basically end the same as in canon, just that Angemon is the bridge is named the Great Angemon Bridge, because why not? Great Angel Bridge, since Angemon is basically an angel, on how an angel saved them that day. Anyways, that'll end off the Waves arc, and we will move on straight to the Chunin exams. Straight to the Chunin exams, we start off with the same interaction, the whole Konohamaru thing, and Team 7 also meeting the Sand Trio, Sand Siblings. Either way, they go by that title. That interaction would be the same as in canon, just with Patamon there. Of course, Kakashi still calls up Team 7 and tells them about the tuning exams, and the same things remain the same as in canon, with basically the team eventually deciding to enter. Of course, going to the tuning exams hall, Sasuke tells of the Genjutsu, and basically that all remains the same in Naruto and Sasuke's battle with Rock Lee, and both of them getting dropped, which Patamon will laugh at, which Naruto would also get a little angry about. Heading straight to the written test. I know I'm going through a lot of things quickly, but bear with me here, okay? Heading to the written test. Naruto will use basically Patamon, keep him on top of his head, and use him to look at everyone's sheets. Well, probably Shikamaru's sheets actually, if he did do the test, more than Sakura's. Basically, anyone with any answers. Meaning that he has a lot more confidence in his paper, but would still give the same speech as in canon. Of course, although skipping along all that canon stuff, look at it, we head straight to the Forest of Death. Like in canon, Naruto still has to use the restroom, and that plays out with the Rain Ninja still attacking. Luckily, Patamon would be there to defend him and would be able to ward off the three with one gigantic boom bubble. Basically just, training that to make that technique bigger and stronger. Perhaps should bring that up, but moving on their way back to the team, Naruto and Patamon are eventually attacked by a giant snake in our swallowed hole. However, this will be no problem as Naruto will simply digivolve Patamon to Angemon, who will blast using Hand of Fate, will blast a hole straight through the snake and fly out with Naruto in his arm. As the two will fly back to the team. This will be about during Sasuke's little terrified thing, and Angemon would end up fighting Orochimaru, as he would put Naruto by Team 7 and would basically get dropped. Angemon is powerful. I put him about around let's say joining level. Don't take that into account. This will probably be inconsistent. But Orochimaru is still beating him. Eventually turned Angemon back into a Patamon, and his body would basically fall on the ground limp. This would, of course, anger Naruto, who would scream Patamon's name and awaken some of Kurama's chakra. And he would attack Orochimaru, putting up a much better fight than in canon. But Orochimaru would still suppress it with the Fight Bronx Seal and knock Naruto out. Sasuke still takes on Orochimaru, and that fight would play out as in canon, as Orochimaru would still give Sasuke the curse mark. Moving on to more things like in canon, Sakura sets up camp and the sound getting attack, and that basically remains the same, that whole encounter. Moving on, we hop straight into the preliminaries, and as always, these matches are randomized. So let's get straight into, a brief summary of how the fights will go. Choji versus Dosu would go about as in canon. Here's the entries one with Shikamaru versus Neji. The fight between these two would be a hard one to decide. It would be easy for Shikamaru to catch Neji in a shadow possession, since he kind of needs to get close to actually doing hurt him. But out of the amounts of victories, I really see more ways for Shikamaru to win this. Probably using the Shadow Strangle Jutsu, basically just to, choke out Neji until he's knocked out. Or force him to quit. Or just form spikes to his neck, which will force him to quit. Sasuke still fights Yoshiro, and that plays out about as in canon. Hinata versus Tamara. I don't know what's up with my pronunciations today. Anyways, Hinata versus Tamari would play out pretty much in Tamari's favor, and just Tamari dominated Hinata with, her Wind-Sight Jutsu. Hinata basically has no way of winning this. Next, we have Naruto and Patamon versus Tenten, and that fight would, and this fight would be a tough one with Tenten's use of weapons and Patamon Patamon would try his best to deflect some of them, but some of them would still hit Naruto and him. Especially the bigger ones with spikes, the bigger and spikier ones. So Naruto digivolved Patamon into Angelmon. Basically, forgot to put a photo of that. And so Angelmon would use a angel rod to basically wrap Tintin up and basically make her unable to do anything. And so she'll be forced to forfeit, since no matter how much she would struggle, she wouldn't be able to break out. Okay, we have Garo versus Rock Lee, which plays out as in the canon. Yeah, great match, don't want to change it. Next, we have Sakura versus Aku, and it's pretty obvious who wins this. Sakura, of course, actually, yes, in this one, Thoroughbone, since she was able to, I don't know, handle herself pretty well in the Force of Death against. So yeah, I can't even kid you with this one. Zaku wins. Next, we have Kiba versus Conqueror, which Conqueror would just give up, awarding Kiba the win. Alright, with more canon out of the way, heading up to 1 month of training, a few changes. I don't have an image of it, but Zaku would likely join Dosu in attacking Gaara, and they would both be killed. Oh well, Jiraiya still trains Naruto, and that remains the same. Although when he would throw him off a cliff, Patamon would try to save Naruto. However, Jiraiya would stop him and tell him to watch. Naruto still successfully summons Gamabunta, with Patamon flying up on his head to check if he's okay, and the whole writing thing about remains the same as in canon. Patamon wouldn't really help here. So the 1 month of training continues the same, although after this whole situation, Patamon would likely blast Jiraiya with the air shot for endangering Naruto. Okay, moving on to the Chunin exams finals, and as always, they have been randomized. You have Naruto and Patamon versus Neji. Naruto off the bat would digivolve Patamon into Angelmon. The two will proceed to battle Neji. And to be honest, Angelmon would completely be able to actually take down Neji on his own. Naruto wouldn't really be needing this situation, ironically. And with the Hand of Fate would actually break through Neji's rotation, or his ultimate defense, and would hit him straight into the wall. You see, and would keep bombarding him with attacks until he's able to free himself. Naruto would then come at him with a bunch of shadow clones, who Neji would avoid the attacks of most of them, but would eventually get hit by a few of them. This will be enough for Naruto to land a Uzumaki Barrage, or Lion's Barrage, or what was that attack Rock Lee used that they Naruto and both Sasuke copied? But just know after this, Neji is down and out. And their whole thing remains the same as it can with the Talk No Jutsu. Shikamaru and Temari face off, and that battle remains the same as in canon. Next, we have Gaara versus Sasuke, and that about plays out as in canon, with the invasion starting. Naruto is still falling asleep under the Genjutsu, which Patamon wouldn't be affected, but would try and wake up Naruto. However, he wouldn't succeed, but luckily Sakura would still break Naruto out of it. So the same teams assembled between Sakura, Shikamaru, and Naruto and Patamon. In their journey to Sasuke about remains the same as in canon, with Naruto still come in with the save, kicking Gaara in the face as in canon. As Patamon would also blast him with the Hand of Fate, a bigger one, not the small ones in the reboot. And the two would battle Gaara. Naruto still basically does the same thing he does as in canon by making use of a bunch of shadow clones to bombard Gaara, with Patamon also keeping him restrained using Angel Rod to allow more of Naruto's attacks to hit. Of course, it still forces Gaara to bring out and go into full Shikaku, as Naruto would still, after a few tries, after summoning Gamma Kishi to summon Gamabunta. to fight Shikaku. As Naruto and Angemon would hop on his back, Naruto still does all the same stuff as in canon, gets on Gaara's head, but when he's trapped by the sand, Angemon will use Angel Rod to slice through it and basically allow Naruto to still headbutt Gaara as in canon. Gaara and Naruto still do have one more bout, still getting their final blows. As Naruto would awaken Kurama's chakra, Zero Tails, and would defeat Gaara. As Patamon would pick up Naruto after he is basically left unable to move, being too tired. And from here, the arc ends off the same. Hiruzen still dies against Orochimaru, and Orochimaru's hands are still gone. And so we'll move on to the Search for Tsunade arc. Oh, this movie's fun so far. Maybe I should do it more often. I'll just switch to movies for now on, probably. Alright, moving on to things. Kisame and Itachi still come to the village as in canon. Their interactions with Kakashi, Kurenai, and Asuma, and also Guy would about go the same as the canon, would eventually them leaving the village. As in canon, Jiraiya would take Naruto out with him to search for Tsunade, with also the promise of a new technique, and Patamon would be there to join too. Now, like in canon, Naruto and Patamon left at a hotel, and Naruto still practices his chakra control, I believe it was. I forgot what he practiced. As in canon, there is a knock on as Itachi and Kisame would appear. Naruto would obviously see these two as a threat and would digivolve Patamon into Angemon immediately and would get ready for a fight. Before it could begin, Sasuke would arrive down from the hallway and still scream Itachi's name, and we know how the scene plays out. With Itachi still choke slamming Sasuke to the wall and still putting him under that genjutsu. I know for a fact he's used genjutsu because I don't think there's a fight I can name where Itachi hasn't used genjutsu. But my terrible memory of Naruto aside, Naruto would still try to help. However, Kisame would stand in his way as Angemon would try and attack it with Angel Rod. However, Kisame would use Samehada to block it, and then basically hit away the rod, and then hit Angemon back straight into a Patamon. Which Naruto would go over and worry and hold Patamon. Kisame would about get ready to cut off Naruto's legs, but luckily Jiraiya would arrive and would still save Naruto and Sasuke as in canon, and would make the two flee. Though if you ask me, I don't think even a Sage Mode Jiraiya could have taken on these two together. Then again, Itachi did say it was low on chakra. Of course, this would still lead into Naruto training and learning the Rasengan over a few days, weeks. How long was this trip? And he would still master or learn the first two steps. But before he could, fully master or learn the third, they would still encounter Tsunade at the restaurant. Tsunade would still make fun of the Hokage or dishonor the whatever you want to use, and this of course leads to Naruto getting angry and the fight outside would still happen. Naruto would use Angemon during this fight, however you would just leave Angemon to deal with Tsunade alone while he charges a Rasengan, and Angemon just gets tossed around here. Yeah, he stands no chance against Tsunade. Nothing he does work against her. If he uses an Angel Rod, Tsunade would just grab the wood part of it and punch Angemon straight to the ground in his face. Would that helmet break? And any hands of faith, unless I'm getting the attack wrong, would easily be tanked by her. Say probably a few scratches on her clothes, but besides that, nothing else. Eventually, after getting beat down for a while, Angemon would revert into a Patamon. And Naruto would luckily be done and would use her Rasengan out of the Shadow Clone. That's really the only image I could find I didn't have to use Eraser for. He would still charge at Tsunade with the incomplete Rasengan, and that would go about as well as in canon. Tsunade and Naruto still make the bet. Naruto will go to check up on Patamon after the battle, asking if he's okay, which he would be. From here, Naruto's training with the Rasengan would basically go the same. Patamon does a little training of his own, probably an Angemon, probably let's see, he tries to use the Rasengan, because why not? Since seeing Naruto do the steps, you probably do. You'd probably be able to use it if you tried. But moving on to about the third act of this arc, Tsunade still goes on with deal with Orochimaru and Kabuto, but fakes it and would end up fighting Kabuto, as in canon, and would still lose because of her whole thing against blood. Naruto would still come in to save her, and he would have his same battle with Kabuto. For the first time, would use a Rasengan. Angemon would also give him a little boost. I forgot he could do that for a second. That's why he didn't use it to get Scar. And he would hit Kabuto straight in the chest. Just for now on, assume that Angemon just gives Naruto a boost. As in canon, the Sonic battle still happens and the arc ends off the same. So that went off the Sasuke Retriever Arc. And next we have our final arc, the Search for Tsunade mission. The next arc is the Sasuke Retriever Arc. So let's head straight into it. Arc of the movie, well, this little experiment. As in canon, Naruto would still have his fight on the rooftop with Sasuke after he would challenge him. As Sasuke would, Naruto would digivolve digivolve Patamon to Angemon. You could probably assume that from now on, every time I show you an Angemon image. Anyways, the three end up duking it out, and Sasuke is, well, how do I put this? Absolutely destroyed. Gets dropped really hard. Sasuke would try and attempt to use a Chidori, which Naruto for one to show it off would use a Rasengan, and this would lead to the same things happening as in canon. Kakashi is still coming in and stopping them both and basically telling them to, hey, cut it out. This leads to the water tower situation as in canon, and more things continue on. A long stream of canon and the Sound Force still show up in the village and basically have their beef scuffle with Sasuke, and Sasuke still ends up joining them leaving the village. So in canon, Sakura will still get the whole thing, and the Sasuke Retrieval team is about the same as in canon with Choji, Kiba, Naruto, Shikamaru, Neji, and later the Sand Trio and Rock Lee. Oh, was that a spoiler? I think that was a spoiler. During Jirobo's thing, Naruto will use Angemon to basically use a hand of fate to break through the thing, and even land a punch on Jirobo, sending him through a few trees. Of course, this will lead things going on in canon, as Naruto would eventually arrive to face Kimamaru. Or was it Kitomaru? I think this one was Kimamaru. Anyways, with that, Naruto's extra boost in power, actually him and his shadow clones would be able to do something to Kimamaru in his base form, making him go into stage 2, and this will cause Naruto and Angemon to start the struggle, but they would be able to keep up with him. Sasuke was still awakened, and Naruto would still go after him. Luckily, Rock Lee would still take over the fight in later Garo, with Kimamaru turning into his Curse Mark Stage 2 as in canon, and that fight would about end the same as in canon. So basically, Sasuke, this will end the Valley of the End fight, and the fight still begins the same as in canon, with Naruto basically getting dogged on by Sasuke, and the real challenge for Sasuke basically only being Angemon. Naruto, like in canon, would start to awaken more Kurama's chakra, and Sasuke would immediately be put on the backhand once again. Sasuke still awakens his 3 Tomoe Sharingan and once again regain the advantage during the fight, would eventually be forced into Curse Mark Stage 2. Sasuke would use a Onyx Chidori and would go to, at least take out one of them, that being Naruto, since he's the weaker link at this point. Where Angemon would step in front of Naruto and would take a direct hit to the chest and would, of course, back to Angelmon as his limp body would fall in the waterfall, ocean, the sea under them, under there, and flow down a river into a safe place conveniently. This caused Naruto to get even more angry and awaken even more of Kurama's chakra than canon, actually making him go into the Four Tails version 2 cloak. As he would begin basically thrashing Sasuke around, leaving him with giant claw marks, scrape marks, burn marks, and all of the above. Basically, Sasuke would be utterly and utterly destroyed, still trying one more Onyx Chidori. However, Naruto would easily grab it with his tail, which would burn Sasuke's arm and basically stab him in the chest, which would also make the Chidori fade. So it's not Onyx Chidori, apparently it's Black Chidori. Keep using the wrong name. They look so similar. If you go look at them, they literally look the same. Sasuke is eventually revert to normal and basically collapses because of all his injuries. Naruto would get ready to finish Sasuke off, but luckily would return to normal. Kakashi would, Naruto would return to normal and would eventually, go collapse himself with burn marks of his own and some of his skin peeled off. Kakashi would still arrive and his dogs, and they would help carry everyone out. Kakashi would carry Naruto or Sasuke, while his dogs would carry Patamon or Naruto, Patamon, and Sasuke. Which, speaking of his dogs, one of them would have recovered Patamon too and would be holding it in its ear by one of its fangs. Naruto and Sasuke would both wake up in the hospital and basically would be in near critical condition since of all their injuries. Patamon would go to check up on Naruto, being worried for him. Also, he would have waken up sooner since his injuries weren't nearly as severe. Actually, he healed pretty quickly. Eventually, Sasuke and Kakashi would have another talk, and Kakashi would get Sasuke to see the error of his ways and basically turn him back to the light for now, in case I decide to, turn him back to the dark. But anyways, with that, we head straight into the time skip, and you can probably guess who Sasuke trains with. It's obviously Tsunade. Okay, it's Kakashi. What if Sasuke became a medical name? Might actually be a good one, though. Sakura still trains under Tsunade, and that basically goes as in canon. Naruto and Patamon would train under Jiraiya, and their training would about go the same, with Patamon learning the Rasengan and being able to use it about the same with Naruto, just with one hand. Although not having access to the big ball Rasengan, well, not the dominant, the giant one, the smaller, bigger one. Also, moving back to Sasuke, I should probably go more into detail about his training since there's a few differences. Sasuke still is able to make use of the curse mark, so he would keep that. Sasuke also would still make the Kirin. Kakashi would probably also learn Kirin. Sasuke would also get better at his Sharingan, and will likely get the dog summoning instead of snake summoning, and still gets the hawk summoning, although we never learned where he got that from, and would likely become a tuning himself after the time skip. Anyways, with that will end off the first half of the series. Join me in the next movie where we'll be covering part 2, that being Shippuden, if this gets enough views, and hopefully we can get 200 subs by the end of the month. Anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed, and don't forget to, of course, like, comment, and subscribe. As I still do hope to get to, well, I already said it, but 200 subs by the end of November. So far, 9 away as of the recording of this. Anyways, see ya.